good day, Lionhearts. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion, and thank you for tuning in today. I mentioned in the last video that I had some bad news, or had gotten some bad news, and so basically on Saturday, Katie and I were in Minnesota, and I got a message that PAPAW had taken a fall, that he some family were over visiting him and they were talking about doing some yard work, and he said he had a tool that he thought they could use, and he went down the back steps out to his shed and just somehow missed the last step, and he fell kind of at an angle down onto some concrete and the lawn, and they told me they were immediately taking him to the hospital. He didn't want a paramedic. He was doing well enough, but we knew he was going to be in a lot of pain. We knew he might have broken something, and they raced him to the hospital, and the preliminary x-rays said that he had broken his neck in 2 places. And so I started making preparations to come, and was getting ready to take off and everything, and then they said that a doctor had come and looked at the results and said that actually the 2 broken parts of his neck were a previous injury. So he was living with this, and he was in a lot of pain from the fall, but they actually weren't seeing any kind of real damage. So they let me know that, and so I was already planning on coming back to visit PAPAW within a couple of days anyway. That was already kind of scheduled on my trip. But then when they said that he was in pain, but that he was fine, he was stable, and those were a previous injury, they said, it's probably not a rush for you to come back. So just wait the extra day, and then come when you're gonna come. And then the next morning, as Katie and I were getting ready, my stepdad called me, and he never calls, and it wasn't a text, it was a phone call. So when I answered it, he said that PAPAW had taken a turn for the worse out of nowhere, and nobody really knew why. And I said, is he okay? And he said, we don't know. We just don't know. But he said, if you can get in your car and start driving now, that's probably best, because we'd rather get you here early than late. And I said, yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I said, what took a turn? I don't understand. He said, we don't know. He just said he's very agitated. And he said, Jordan, he said he was doing fine, and then he wasn't, out of nowhere, and we don't know why. And he's thrashing around in his bed, and he's saying he wants to go join your grandmother. So, I always knew that day, or this day, would come, but I just wasn't ready for it. So I got my car and I started driving, and they ended up having to put something down his throat to push his tongue forward to make sure that he didn't swallow his tongue or anything. And they also had him on pain medications, an IV for saline, a catheter, all that stuff. He was basically in bed, hooked up to everything on blood pressure machines, and it was basically what I ended up finding out was, so I started driving, and my drive was 11 hours. Katie was there for work, so I was actually in Minnesota to join her while she was doing this little job, and so I ended up having to leave early, and drove, and you saw that I stopped off the Ultimate Warrior's grave. I was getting periodic updates throughout the day, and the updates kept saying he's lucid, he's doing okay, we just don't know, he's stable. That was what it kept saying, he's stable and he's lucid. So I just, I don't know if it was a right decision, wrong decision. The Ultimate Warrior's grave was literally 5 minutes when I put it in, because I was going to go there anyway when I went to visit PAPAW. It was 5 minutes off my route. So I stopped, did that vlog and continued driving and got to the hospital at midnight. So when I got up, he was in the ICU, and family members came out and they said, you know, he's sleeping off and on, but he seems to know, he knows who we are. It's just not looking good. And we don't know why. Nobody knows why. My uncle was saying, he said, you know, he said 7 o'clock in the morning, he was fine. He said, Jordan, he was up, walking, going to the bathroom. They were, you know, the nurses were assisting him, but he was doing it, and he was eating, and I mean, he was like, you know, he was doing stuff for himself. He was sitting up, talking. And he said, then he went to the bathroom, came back to his bed, and he went to lay on his side, and he said, Jeff, I feel myself losing energy by the second. And next thing you know, he just couldn't move. He didn't physically have enough energy to move or anything. So when I walked in, he had all this stuff hooked up to him and thing in his mouth, and man, he looked worse than I'd ever seen him look. And I'm sorry, you're gonna get tears in this one. He's my hero. So all the vlogs of people that we make that I've told you that inspired me, nobody is my bigger hero than PAPAW. So I got up and I whispered in his ear, I said, hey, it's Jordan. And his eyes popped open, he got a smile I could see, and he looked over and he said, Jordan. I said, hey, if you wanted me to come back so bad, all you had to do was ask, you didn't have to do this. And he started trying to laugh with the thing in his throat. And I said, how you doing? And he said, with the thing, you know, it's really muffled, but he said, it's the end of the line. Time for me to go with Mamaw. And I said, well, I'm not ready for that yet. And I thought about it, and I just started telling him everything that I ever wanted to say. You know, just thanked him for all the school trips when they couldn't find chaperones that he signed up for, and the camping trips they couldn't find chaperones for that he signed up for, and the baseball games that he took me to, and in the people that I wanted to meet at car shows that he took me to in bad weather, and when I needed a tuxedo to join the show choir, he paid for it. And when my bike got stolen, he bought me a new one. And when I was time for me to get a car, he said, I'll match whatever you save. And just, he did everything for me my whole life, with always teaching me the responsibility, but always helping me out. And I just wanted him to know all that. And so I told him all that, and he said, I know. You'll live a good life. Don't worry. You'll move on, and you'll live a good life. And so I backed away, and the nurses eventually came in, and they were trying to do something to him, and he started pushing the thing in his mouth that was holding his tongue out. He started pushing it out, and they said, no, Don, don't do that, don't do that. And he kept doing it, and then finally they just went ahead and pulled it out, and he shouted, I don't want to live like this. And my uncle said, Dad, we know your wishes. We know that you don't want to go like this, so we're going to honor your wishes. We want to do it the right way and make you comfortable. And so we all went into a consult room, and we all agreed that he's a man that lived his life on his terms, and he, you know, basically lived by his rules. And 95 years old, he got to live alone all the way up to this point. If he wants to go out and he wants to go, then we need to let him go, that on his terms. And so we agreed to do that, and we told the doctors that that's what we were going to do, and that we wanted to give him, you know, keep giving him things that will help him stay alive comfortably, but that he didn't want any extra measures taken. And so they said, do you want us to put the thing back in his mouth so that he doesn't choke? And we looked at him, and he shook his head, and we said no, he doesn't want it. So we all just kind of sat around and talked to him and, you know, just did what we could. And personally, I was just, all I could do was watch him and look up and watch his levels. Watch him, watch his levels. And every time, like, the oxygen would drop by 1, I'd freak out, or if his heart rate would drop by 1, I'd freak out, and then a couple of seconds later it would rebound and be back where it was, and just kept kind of waiting. Then he said, where's hospice? When are we talking to hospice? And so my uncle made arrangements for us to talk to hospice so that we could come up with a comfortable way for PAPAW to go out on his terms, if he wanted to be here or if he wanted to be in the hospital or where he wanted to be. And so he said he wanted that. And I kept watching his vital signs. I was there all day, and I just, maybe it was like the Pollyanna in me, but I just kept thinking, he looks like he's doing all right. Like, he looks like he's okay. And he had said, when he said, I don't want to live like this, he said, I'm not going to get better. There's no point. I'm not going to get better. So I guess I was the only one thinking that he was going to recover. And everybody else just, you know, we kind of waited to find out when the hospice people were going to come. And we found out that it was going to be the following day. But I stayed there with him all night, and I watched the baseball game with him. And then my brother came for the sleeping hours. But up until then, PAPAW he was kind of having delusions. They had put him on some medications that they told us, you know, originally they said some people, elderly people, when they're in a new environment in general like this, like in a hospital, and they're used to their home, that will throw them into like kind of a delusional state. Also the medication, the painkiller that they were putting him on, they said this particular one, people either, you know, are very calm on it, or it has the exact opposite effect. And we were starting to think maybe that was what was causing him to have that crazy, because he was telling my sister he could see the Trojan horses and the bridge coming down, and she said, no, PAPAW, there's no horses. And he said, it's not you, it's through you. You don't even know they're doing it. It was stuff like that. And again, like I was saying, he was saying, I want to join Mamaw, I want to go be with Shirley. And so I stayed with him, and he was starting to get some sleep. I couldn't believe it. He was talking better, and he was getting some sleep. And my brother came and relieved me and everything, and I woke up and looked to see what the update was for the day, and they said he slept through the night and woke up and was drinking a protein shake and everything, and that the hospice people would be there to meet with us that afternoon. And in my mind, I just kept thinking, I want him to get better. Like, I feel like he could get better, you know. But I guess I was the only one. I felt like at the time the only one thinking that. So eventually he needed his hearing aid batteries, and so I came 40 minutes back to his house and got his hearing aid batteries. And went back and found out that his hearing aids themselves weren't working, and that he needed his backup hearing aids. And I said, well, how about I bring those to you in the morning? He looked at me and said, no, I can't hear a thing. The Reds are playing tonight, and so are the Lakers. I said, all right, fine. So I turned around, drove all the way back, got his backup hearing aids, came back. And when I came in, my uncle said hospice was here, and Dad said he wants to get better. He thinks he can get better. Said he wants to try physical therapy if it's not too late. And I said, not too late? He said, yeah. He told Terry, he said, is it too late for me to change my mind? We said, no! You can change your mind anytime you want. We're not killing you off. We're just the opposite. We're trying to get you to live. And all of his grandkids came from everywhere that they live to be with him. And we really think that just the outpouring of love really showed him how much he's needed. And I am happy to report that he is supposed to meet with physical therapy today. They're going to do a 3-hour evaluation to see if he's a candidate for physical therapy. We're going to tell him, you know, he lived on his own before this happened, has had no problems before that. I think basically, like I was telling my uncle, I think basically when it comes to something like this, physical therapy And I got this because of knowing Shelly. I think it's more of they want to see if Papaw's mental capacity is there, like what if he wants to do this, if he's going to make an effort to get better, if this is what he wants, if he, I think that's more of what it is. So we're feeling really confident. He is now off of his blood pressure medication. It's actually lower than it's been in a long time. He doesn't have any feeding tubes, any oxygen tubes. He has a saline drip because since he hasn't walked in a couple days, they wanted to wait till he started physical therapy before they give him solid foods to where he can get up and go to the bathroom and stuff, just as a precaution. We want him as safe as possible, but his plan is to get better, and they're going to do it. They're going to do his rehab if he's accepted in that hospital, and then he's going to come back here home. And I told him that I will be here whenever he needs me, as long as he needs me, and we'll figure something out one way or another. But we almost lost him. He fought for his life on this one, and I don't think there's anybody in this family that thought that we weren't going to say goodbye to him. I made a bunch of videos in Las Vegas and Los Angeles so that they would allow me to take a break at some point. And so when you're seeing this, we thought we were going to lose him. I was absolutely convinced that May 9th was going to be the day that he passed. And it's now the 12th, and he's back to his old self. He's got his sense of humor. He's eating, and his spirits are good. He's always been mentally strong. And so that was the one thing that I kept holding on to. I was like, unless he wants to go. And I did tell him that when a couple of minutes after I told him I didn't want him to go and I knew I was being selfish, I went back over and I said, I know you want to be with her, so you go ahead if you're ready. I'm just not ready for you to go. So my uncle jokingly said, well, when he was saying, I want to go be with Mama, he said, I'm not a hugely spiritual person, but I was kind of wondering if Mama was talking to him and they were communicating, and she was saying, it's your time now, Don, or something. But she said, then when he started making a recovery, or my uncle said, then when he started making a recovery, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe she was reminding him of all the things that she's going to settle with him when he gets up there. And he thought, well, I better wait a little while. So, as of now, Papaw is a happy and healthy 95-year-old on his way back to recovery and back to living his life. So I thought I should clue you all in because I knew it would look very weird going from Minnesota to Ohio and not explaining it. And like I said, I had planned on stopped off and doing the Ultimate Warrior, and I thought, well, at least there I'll kind of prepare them. In the beginning of the video, I'll just say something bad's happened, so people kind of already know this next video might not be a major shock. I know a lot of people love my grandpa. When he's in the videos, people always comment, we want more of him. Tell more stories. We want to see more of him. They always say he's adorable, and so I just felt, in this case, you guys really needed to know what was going on. And if anything progresses or changes, I'll keep you posted. But as of now, he's doing well. So God, thank you. Thank you, God. I mean, I honestly, I could not have been blessed with a better role model and a better grandfather, and I want him as long as I can have him for every freaking second. So have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.